Okay. Then we're going to get on the record. It's position 27 on the calendar, 25 SC 006827, State versus Preston Cobb. Good afternoon, Mr. Cobb.
Good afternoon, Judge.
Mr. Cobb is in court with his lawyer, Ms. Rios. He is charged with 2 counts of serious injury by vehicle and 1 count of theft by receiving stolen property. At least that's what it says on the calendar. And Ms. Smith, representing the state, is going to start our plea conversation in just a moment. She'll put you under oath, and then you will be asked a bunch of questions you've already heard several times today. But it's your turn to answer the way you think is the correct answer. You need to make sure that you stop us if at any point you've got a question. If you're not following what's going on, or you just need a minute with Ms. Rios, will you let me know that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, then let's start.
Mr. Cobb, please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you shall give in the matter currently before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you can lower your hand. Please state your true, correct, and legal name for the court.
Preston Cobb.
Are you at this time taking or under the influence of any alcohol, drugs, or medicine?
No, ma'am.
Is there any medication that you would normally take that you haven't been given today?
No, ma'am.
How old are you and how far have you gone in school?
I'm 20 years old and I graduated high school last year of May, 2025.
Where'd you go to high school?
North Clayton High School in College Park.
Got it.
Do you understand that you have the right to plead either guilty or not guilty to these charges? And if you plead not guilty or remain silent, you may receive a jury trial.
Yes, ma'am.
Have you had enough time to speak with your attorney about all of the facts and circumstances known to you regarding the charges in this indictment?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you need more time to discuss your case with your attorney?
No, ma'am.
And are you satisfied with her services?
Yes, ma'am.
Counsel, are you satisfied that your client has a full understanding of this proceeding?
Yes.
Also, do you waive the formal reading of the indictment and any and all defects in the indictment for the purposes of this plea?
Yes.
Mr. Cobb, do you remember being arrested on these charges?
Yes, I remember being arrested.
The state is unaware of any outstanding warrants related to these charges. Are you or your attorney aware of any outstanding warrants related to these charges?
No, ma'am.
Do you understand that this is a non-negotiated or blind plea and that the state would recommend a sentence to the court?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand that the court can impose any sentence authorized by law, including a higher sentence than that recommended by the state, up to the maximum sentence on each charge?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand that if you're placed on probation of any kind, you cannot violate any criminal laws of any governmental unit or any special conditions of probation without being subject to revocation for the balance of the sentence?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand that this is a guilty plea which is permanently recorded on your criminal history?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand that if you're charged with a crime in the future, that this plea may be used to enhance that sentencing, including on a federal case?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand that if you're currently on probation or parole, your probation or parole may be revoked based on you entering a guilty plea today?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you a United States citizen?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand that there may be other adverse or unfavorable consequences as a result of this guilty plea conviction, just as there would be following a conviction from a trial? For example, your guilty plea may affect your right to vote, the right to hold public office, the right to serve on a jury, the right to obtain a passport, or the ability to obtain employment.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you also understand that by pleading guilty to a felony, you cannot use, receive, possess, transport, or own a firearm, and that if you did, you could be charged with another felony offense?
Yes, ma'am. I understand.
Do you understand that you waive any and all defenses, including any mental health defenses, by entering a plea of guilty?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand that by pleading guilty, you're giving up the following rights: the right to a trial by jury, the right to remain silent and not incriminate yourself, the right to see and hear the witnesses called to testify against you, the right to the assistance of counsel, either hired by you or court appointed if you cannot afford an attorney, the right to the presumption of innocence, which means that the state must prove beyond a reasonable doubt that you're guilty of these charges, the right to testify on your own behalf or remain silent, the right to present other evidence of your own and call your own witnesses, and the right to appeal if convicted of these charges after a trial.
Yes, ma'am.
Counsel, are you satisfied that your client understands that these are the rights that they'll be waiving by entering this guilty plea?
Yes.
Mr. Cobb, has anyone forced, threatened, or promised you anything to get you to enter into this guilty plea today?
No, ma'am.
As to indictment number 25 SC 006827, how do you plead to count 1, serious injury by vehicle, count 2, serious injury by vehicle, and count 3, theft by receiving stolen property? Yeah, it's guilty.
Guilty.
Is this guilty plea freely and voluntarily given with full knowledge of the charges against you?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand that you do not have a direct right to appeal from your guilty plea? But if you believe that there is some type of error in your guilty plea, you can apply to the appropriate appellate court to request a discretionary appeal.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand that that process has to be completed within 30 days from today?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand that you have only 4 years from today for a felony charge to file a habeas corpus petition challenging the voluntariness of this guilty plea?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Cobb. Your Honor, if this case were to proceed to trial, the state would show that on.
Is Mr. Cobb pursuing this as a first offender?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, I'll cover that with him. Is that something the state is opposing, is neutral on, or what's your view on first offender?
Leaving the court's discretion.
Okay, we'll get to that. You were going to tell me about the facts of the case.
Yes, Judge. On June 18th, 2023, officers of the South Fulton Police Department responded to 2929, I'm going to spell it, BETHESDA Road. That's in Atlanta, Georgia, and also Fulton County. When the officers got there, they saw that a car had crashed into a tree, and that there were passengers inside of the car that were injured. The officers that responded, also EMS responded, they were able to take the passengers out of the car. All of them were kind of banged up, so they all went to Grady to be treated. In this case, the officers, after doing their investigation, found out that the defendant in this case, Mr. Cobb, was the one who was driving the car at a high speed before it hit a tree. The car that he was driving was a 2019 Kia Optima. It was stolen, and the person who owned that car, the officers got in touch with her, and she said she never gave her car away. She didn't know who Mr. Cobb was, and that she had reported it stolen. So the car that was used in this offense was stolen. The officers were able to get a black box from that Kia Optima that showed that 2.5 seconds before the crash, the car was going 122 miles an hour. At the time the car hit the tree, it was going 88 miles per hour. So the car was going pretty fast. In this case, there were 4 other passengers in the car, not including the defendant in this case. However, 2 passengers in particular they had pretty serious injuries. One of those victims being Darrell Wilson and the other person being Boss Newton. In this case, all passengers were transported to Grady Hospital, but their stays were a bit longer because of the injuries that they had. Because of this, the officers were able to determine that because the defendant in this case was the one that was driving and that it was a stolen vehicle, warrants were taken out and he was arrested for these charges that we have before us. Those are the facts of the case, all occurring in Fulton County. Regarding the recommendation from the state in this case, for counts 1 and 2, the state is asking for a 10 serve 5 with the balance probated. And regarding count 3, we're just asking for 5 to serve to run concurrent with the 10 serve 5 recommendation in counts 1 and 2. Regarding the special conditions of probation, we're just asking that the defendant have no contact with either of the victims, to complete an anti-theft course, to complete a defensive driving course, and also that was the last thing for the special conditions of probation. The state in this case did reach out to both of the victims. At the time, they were, I want to say juveniles. Right now they're still young, maybe around 19, 20. But I was able to speak with the mom of Darrell Wilson. She's on the call. She would like to make a statement. However, from what I've gathered, Mr. Wilson, who was the person in the middle back seat, he cannot talk, cannot walk. He has a brain injury. He has a feeding tube. He's kind of bedridden. He goes back and forth to the hospital because sometimes he gets infections from sitting too long. And I'll let his mother in this case talk a little bit more about those injuries. The state did try to reach out to the next of kin for Boss Newton. However, we were not able to reach anyone, but we did get a chance to look over those medical records. And Mr. Newton, I believe all of his teeth were knocked out. He does have a brain injury and had a couple of fractured and broken ribs and bones in his body. So we weren't able to get an updated how is Mr. Newton doing in this case because we could not find next of kin. However, Miss Wilson's mother is on the call and would like to talk about kind of how Mr. Wilson's life has been since this injury.
Okay, and I'll hear from her in just a moment. The indictment in count 2 says that the particularly serious situation for Mr. Newton was something about his leg. So some of the bones that were broken were in his leg. You mentioned his teeth got knocked out, but I'm assuming there's evidence that something happened to his leg.
Yes, Judge. The medical records are, of course, very long, but those some of the bones that were broken were throughout his body, but in his leg also.
Okay, got it. All right. So on the call, there is a Jada's iPhone, and then there is a Treese. I may not be pronouncing that correctly. I'm not sure which is Mr. Wilson's mom.
It's Treese, it's me.
Hey, are you Ms. Wilson? What's your last name?
Thompson, my name is Latricia Thompson.
Ms. Thompson, I appreciate you joining us. Let me add you to the screen here so that everyone can see you. So you are Darrell Wilson's mother?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, I appreciate you joining us, and I am sorry what has happened to your family. We are almost 3 years into this, so whatever your son is having to deal with, if it's still going on, it sounds like tragically it's a permanent situation. Why don't you let me know how he's doing, how you're doing, and how this situation has impacted your family?
It's impacted us a lot, like, cause it changed everything. Now Darrell had to have 24-hour care with skilled nursing and unskilled nursing. His body contract like a baby fetus, so he can't stretch his legs out and he can't stretch his hands out, or his hands balled up. But I wish Darrell were here, but he had to go to the hospital emergency room because he was having a urinary tract, which he catched them throughout the whole 3 years. He been catching them back to back, so he had to go to the emergency room. So they changed his tubes and stuff like that. But he nonverbal. I wish Darrell was here so y'all could see him. I'm not mad at Preston. Only thing I just want to know, Preston, like, if no church asked you to stop, why you just didn't stop, baby? Because you changed everything. I don't want to see you go to jail, none of that. I don't want to see, like, this going on with my son. But at the end of the day, like, they asked you to stop. That's the only thing that I just don't understand. If them boys asked you to stop, why you didn't stop? Because Darrell didn't know none of y'all. He only know the boss. Boss introduced Darrell to them. And Darrell didn't go to school with you all. We had just moved to the neighborhood. We were new to the neighborhood. And he got the worst out of everything. And he just changed a lot. So, I don't...
Do you know, Ms. Thompson, you mentioned that your son knew Boss Newton. Do you know how Boss Newton is doing? Do you have any information on how he's doing?
No, the last time I talked to them, it's been like a year ago, and he was at home and stuff. You know, he walked with a limp. He missing like his top and his bottom teeth, and that's about it. But he was functioning, talking well.
Okay.
We're the only one got the worst end.
Got it. Do you know anything about what happened? There were apparently 2 other young men in the car besides your son and Boss Newton and Mr. Cobb. Do you know anything about what happened to the other young men?
No, sir. I only seen all them 2. I only seen them when Darrell was in the hospital.
Yeah.
We didn't even know. I didn't even like. I thought it was some boys that he normally hang around. I didn't never know them. He ain't never go to school with them. Darrell, that was the first time meeting them. Okay.
And how is it that your household is able to afford 24-hour care? That sounds very expensive.
Yeah, through Medicaid. He received Medicaid. Medicaid helped us out.
Okay. Well, I'm glad that resource is there for you all. And I'm grateful.
I don't know. It ruined Mr. Because he ain't in the hospital. But if I turn, y'all can see he got a whole hospital bed. like feed it to. He stay on medicine.
Oh, yeah.
This him when
Okay.
he was in rehab, but he got a whole hospital bed.
Okay. Well, I'm glad that you've been able to care for him, and I hope you have help. It's not just you. I know you said that there's in-home nursing. Are there others in your household who can help?
His sisters, he got siblings.
Okay.
He got siblings.
Okay. Well, Ms. Thompson, it's been real helpful to hear from you, and our thoughts are all with Darrell. This isn't the kind of thing he's going to recover from. So like you said, it's life-changing for him. And here's Mr. Cobb standing in court. So it was a very different outcome for different people.
Yes. I just wish he would have stopped when the boys told.
Yep, I bet he does too. Well, you're welcome to stay on the call while we go through the rest of this, but thank you for being here.
Okay. You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Smith-Mann, any criminal history information for Mr. Cobb?
Yes, Your Honor. There are 3 prior cycles that are not included in the cycle that is before you today. There is a 2024 battery against a female who is pregnant in Clayton County School, and it's Clayton County School Police to be exact. There is a 2026 Clayton County theft by receiving stolen property, willful obstruction by law enforcement officers, driving without a valid license. Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right, you said there were 3 cycles, and you told me a battery against a pregnant female. That sounds
Right.
bad. And then very recently, driving without a license while you are awaiting resolution of a serious injury by vehicle case. But those were 2 cycles. What's the third?
The third cycle was a willful obstruction that was dismissed, a theft by receiving stolen property that was dismissed from Clayton County
Okay.
in 2023.
Got it. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome, Your Honor.
Ms. Rios.
Yes, Your Honor. I want to start with having Mr. Davis talk first about the next level.
Okay. Hello again, sir.
Hello.
How are you?
Good, thank you.
We have taken up a lot of your time today. I apologize. You've been very patient, and hopefully you've been able to attend to other things. You should cover whatever you want. You know, I'm familiar with the amazing work you and your program do. So I don't need to hear so much about that. I'm more interested in what you know, if you know anything yet about Mr. Cobb. He's in a real awkward situation right now.
Yes, just hearing the facts, just so unfortunate, just my heart goes out to his family, just to happen to just have a sudden change. These are a little different than me coming in front of him. Normally it's kind of straight to the point, but I've had an opportunity. This young man has been in the program now. His attorney reached out, but I have some history with him. Some years ago, maybe when he was like 12 or 13, his family was bringing him on a preventive measure. He never made any type of trouble. They was brought into it. I think he came by way of someone from the church, and we really liked him. So there was a loss of contact. I don't know if it was a transportation issue or something like that. But I often try to, especially when I come in front of you, I try to explain. I'm sure you hear this all the time. How do we get here? Like, what is the codependency? How do you end up in a vehicle, whatever? And I'm sure 90% of the people that come before you, Judge, have some type of family dynamics that leads to this. This young man here, he lost his father. The weekend of his 8th grade graduation, he did begin to live with his grandmother and help care for her. And shortly after losing his father, he loses his grandmother. So he has all this trauma, all this depression, all this grief that's on top of all that. And I just think that at that time, as he began to reach and search and try to find somewhat another family, and just the, just unfortunate situation. And, yeah, so he's been in the program, he's doing well. I just really wish that, had I known, I was really wish that the family would have been able to keep him with us. But I always just try to give them credit because they try to get ahead of it. I think when he lost his father and all that, they just want to get ahead of it. But again, it's so unfortunate. Great young man. He's been accepted to the program. You know the rest, how we work close with the courts. And should you grant him this opportunity, the relationship that we have with the courts and probation, that we would, even if we had to do some additional things to hold him accountable. But I just got a chance to get to know the family over the years. It's just so unfortunate. He's an amazing young man. So that's all I have to say.
All right. Well, I appreciate you being here again, and thank you for the work that you do.
Thank you, sir.
One life at a time.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Rios.
Yes, Your Honor. In regards to this situation, this happened 3 years ago. At the time, he had just turned 18 years old. The friends that he were in the car with that are the victims in the case, they picked him up. It's basically a joyriding situation. They went to one of the friends' house, hung out, and they got back in the car with Mr. Cobb being the driver, and there was music playing. They were being rowdy teenagers, and mistakes were made. And they were very, very big mistakes that he regrets, and he's very remorseful of the situation. He also, he was even arrested for a while after the situation because he was also in the hospital. I know his injuries are not comparable to what the victims in the case are dealing with, but he had also a traumatic brain injury that he still suffers from, has affected his intellectual ability. And he's ongoing seeing a doctor for that. He had other injuries with his leg, broken leg, collapsed lung. So he was in the hospital for months and months, also dealing with the injury he just made. He has made a decent recovery, but is still suffering from that. As you know, 18-year-old brains not developed, not making the best decision, and unfortunately just had very bad consequences for everyone involved in the situation. So far, he's been trying to do well. He's now 20 years old. He graduated from high school. He has one daughter who turns 2 in July. He's employed. He's working at Amazon, preparing customer service orders. And he's been trying to take care of his child and help out his mom and do good. I do understand the seriousness of what happened and how this has had very serious effects for the victims in this case. I just don't believe him going to prison for 5 years serves anyone. We heard the mother of the victim in the case that she doesn't even think that he should go to prison. I get the serious.
I do. I think he should.
Yeah, I do too.
Hey, both of
Dad
you,
do too.
stop, Dad. You'll get a chance. It's not your turn right now, so let's not interrupt. All right.
This wasn't a malicious, intentional act. It was a thoughtless and an act of someone who did not have a fully developed brain at the time, being that he was a teenager. I'm asking for, on count 1 and 2, the theft by receiving to be 10 years on probation, with the 5 years to serve on the back end and to suspend if he has no further convictions. And on count 1 and 2, and then count 3, the same sentence with if he doesn't have any trouble for those 10 years, for the 5 years in prison to be suspended, and for him to be treated as a first offender.
Okay, so first offender I get, and we'll cover that, but you're asking for one of these backloaded sentences where if Mr. Cobb over the next 5 years makes good choices and stays out of trouble and whatnot, then that would be evidence that he has turned a corner, and the remaining 5 years would be a sentence, but they would not be custodial. They'd be suspended so that if something happened year 6, one could still deal with it, but he's not in custody.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. So I'm gonna come to you in a minute, Mr. Cobb. Ms. Smith, I believe Darrell Wilson's father is now on. I don't know if you were expecting him. I'm happy to hear from him as well. He kind of barged in while Ms. Rios was talking. Is that someone you've had contact with as well?
I spoke with mom. She said that other family members may want to speak, including his dad. So
Okay. All right, Mr. Wilson, if you want to unmute, if there's something you want to share with me, I would like to hear from you now.
Yes, sir. How you doing today?
Well, I'm all right. This is a pretty sad situation that we're working through. I got to hear a lot about how your son's doing from his mom, and that was hard to hear.
Right. Well, I think he should get whatever Matt sent him because, my son did ask him to let him out the car. My son asked him to let him out the car and he refused to let my son out the car. You know what I'm saying? And so that's one thing. And, I don't know what my son experienced doing that, but it's been a bad experience for me and his mom and his family and the rest of our family. My son almost died twice. We've been dealing with more than enough. Still to this day, we back and forth to the hospital and all that. So, I ain't trying to keep y'all alone, but I think he should be getting way more than house arrest. Cause my son, what I'm saying, was, technically on the right path. They went all doing right, but my son didn't want to take that ride. And he made my son take that ride. So now I don't think he should be getting no light sentence and none of that.
Okay, I appreciate that. I appreciate you joining us. I understand your perspective on this. And I am glad that your son has both you and his mom in his life trying to help him work through all this.
Right.
All right. Thank you for being here.
Okay.
Ms. Smith, both Mr. Wilson's mother and his father have, they've echoed each other that they believe at some point the passengers were saying either slow down or let me out. Is there something in the body of evidence you have about that? Or is that something that Mr. Wilson's parents would know because somehow he was able to communicate that to them?
So during the officer's investigation, one of the passengers in the car that was not severely injured told other family members that they asked him to stop and they asked him to slow down, but he refused. He went fast and he couldn't music. But that's not something that the passenger said directly to officers. However, during their investigation, that is something that they became privy to.
Okay, so you've heard that theme as well. You're not hearing it for the first time from Ms. Thompson or Mr. Wilson.
That's correct.
Okay.
Excuse me, Mr. Young, sir. Me and his mom actually visited him while he was in his coma, and he said that himself. While he was in his coma, he said Darrell asked me to let him out before he even put the car in drive. My son asked him to let him out the car. I don't know about nobody else, but he said out here on mouth that my son asked him to let him out the car off the rip. Cause my son, no, I don't even, he know better. So,
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know what they communicate. My son couldn't communicate with the officer.
Right.
And Preston was the one that came to pick the boys up. Them boys didn't have no car. Preston was the one that came and picked them up. His mama had a video, but she deleted the video of him telling the story that them boys told him to stop. He said that himself when he was in the hospital because it wasn't nothing wrong with Preston. Preston, like he functioning now, he was functioning then. I ain't never known about a brain injury. His mama, she stayed by my baby bedside because she thought my son was gonna die. She the one called me and told me what was going on. I didn't even know that my son had been in an accident until Preston mom called.
All right. Well, I'm glad she called you. Okay. All right. Thank you both. Ms. Rios, I'm going to ask Mr. Cobb in just a minute if there's anything he wants to add, but I wanted to come back to you because we've been a little dynamic here in our
I want to
exchange.
make sure his mom, she thinks she want to say something. And I also do have documentation from a doctor about his brain injuries.
Okay.
Severe.
All right. Well, what order would you like to go? Mr. Cobb, are you going to say, you don't have to say anything at all, but you have an opportunity to if you want to. You do want to say something? All right. Should we have your mom go first?